Hello, and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us this day. Whether you're joining us live for the first time or you're one of our DTLC family members, thank you so much for choosing to invest this time for your own health. We are really delighted to have you with us. Well, because here at DTLC, we believe that every session is another step toward gaining mastery over diabetes, and we are really honored to be part of your journey. Welcome to DTLC Season 13, Week 3. Well, friends, did you know that having a parent or a sibling with type 2 diabetes actually increases your own risk of developing the condition? But here's the encouraging news. Genes may load the gun, but lifestyle often pulls or safely locks the trigger. Even if diabetes runs in your own family, healthy eating, regular exercise, activity, maintaining a healthy weight, and other positive lifestyle choices can significantly reduce your risk and improve your health by if you already have diabetes. That is exactly why DTLC exists, to equip you with practical knowledge and skills that you can apply every day. Well, what's our objective tonight? By the end of this session, we want you to understand how carbohydrates affect your blood sugar, how to identify smarter carbohydrate choices, and how simple, just portion control can help you achieve better glucose control. Our goal is not to teach you to fear food, but to help you eat with confidence, balance, and a lot of wisdom. So this evening, I'm delighted to be joined by our experts, Dr. Ojwang, our lead dietitian, Ms. Jalang'o, our family doctor and diabetes care specialist. Well, we are truly grateful to have them with us in this important session. Coming up, well, before we begin today's topic, we'll take just a few minutes to review last week's session on monitoring your health and knowing your numbers. Did you take part in last week's challenge? Well, we'd love to hear from you. Then we'll move into what we consider the heart of the Diabetes Total Lifestyle Change Program, carbohydrate intelligence and portion control. If you've ever wondered, why does my blood sugar still rise after eating certain meals? Am I eating too many carbohydrates? How much food is enough? Then tonight's session is for you. We encourage you to give this session your full attention. Keep a notebook nearby, write down your questions, and also participate in the chat. The knowledge you gain today could actually change the way you look at your plate and help you to make more informed choices every day. So let's get started. We'll take a few minutes to reflect on last week's session. Well, the session was about monitoring our health and knowing our numbers. By learning alone is not enough. We also challenged each one of you to put that knowledge into practice. Now it's your turn to let us know or to tell us how it went. Well, I'm delighted to invite Ms. Jalang'o, our diabetes care specialist, to lead us in this discussion. Welcome, Ms. Jalang'o.
Thank you, Lydia. It's another wonderful Monday and a great evening to walk this journey with the current cohort. And a good evening to everyone who is with us today on DTLC. I will give a recap of last week. We talked about knowing your numbers. Knowing your numbers is all about the critical numbers that help you manage your diabetes, make adjustments that are critical for your care. And even if you don't have diabetes, knowing your numbers is also important to support your life journey. Now, I likened diabetes, the living with diabetes, to a journey of like 10,000 kilometers. So when you have diabetes, you're like the driver driving to a destination, let's say 10,000 kilometers away. Now, The important thing is our focus is for you to have a full life free of complications and arrive well. So in a car, you have a dashboard that gives you the readings from the car. The car sends readings. And this I likened to your glucose readings as well as the other measures you take. And then, of course, the road conditions, we likened it to the issues of life, stress, finances, illnesses, all that impact your blood glucose. So monitoring is not only about blood glucose, it's about blood pressure, your weight, your cholesterol, your organs, your kidneys, your liver. Are they working well? Then are you sleeping enough? Are you eating right? So it's also about your food. It's also about your mental status. What is your mood? So that's very critical. And then we went on to say monitoring gives us some information, and this information helps us make decisions. So I summed it up that monitoring gives you data for decisions. Now, when we monitor, especially blood glucose, choose the right tool that you can afford. So cost is an issue that you can use, so ease of use, and that also you prefer. But we said if you can also afford a continuous glucose monitor, it will be able to tell you the time in range, which is very important for your care. And at the end of it is, even if you have diabetes, you can live a full life without complications by ensuring that your blood glucose, especially your HbA1c, is below 7. So we focus on patterns, not single readings. And then it's also important that the readings arrive also at the clinics when you take them. And then, of course, sometimes some of the readings are done in the hospital. Please ensure that you discuss this with your care specialist. So follow-up is important. And always remember, monitoring will support the daily actions that you take in self-management to ensure that you arrive well with diabetes. And then I remember saying that we can't feel the numbers. You cannot feel the numbers. Sometimes feeling may not give you the right information, so we need to verify by checking. So monitoring is important. You must measure. So your diabetes journey is like a 10-kilometer drive. It requires awareness, adjustments, and support. So support you get from your care team and some of the monitoring, but of blood glucose you can do alone, even of blood pressure and even weight. So monitoring is your dashboard. It keeps you informed, safe, and on the right path. And before I end, I had requested each one of us to do something. Did anybody do something on the homework to do their tests and tell us their HbA1c, their cholesterol? Anybody willing to share something with us? Kindly just let us know. I would be glad to hear from somebody. Or in case you just have any questions around monitoring, it would also be nice to hear from one or two persons. Okay, Lydia, I hand it over to you since I don't see any communication coming.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for the review, for reminding us when we know our numbers, we are empowered to make better decisions about our health. So we provided you with a lot of reference charts with forms to fill in. Please, if possible, print them out. If possible, keep tracking your numbers, fill them through your computer if possible. And then by doing this, you're actually recording your progress. And if, like Dr. Jalang'o says, if you take them to your physician, this will help them make decisions regarding your health. So thank you so much. We continue to monitor our progress.
Just one thing, Lydia, you mentioned something And I
Yeah.
remembered, yeah, monitoring is important. Like now you're in the program, you need to have your baseline. So if you have not done your HbA1c, your weight, your blood pressure, you need to do them. Why? Because it is from those results that you will know how you're progressing, whether this program is making a difference or not. So kindly make sure you do your HbA1c this week and even the other tests, because we've seen the program impact people even on their organ functions. People have lost weight, people have gotten their kidneys improved while here, and some people have even reversed their diabetes and other health conditions. So please do your baseline measurements. Yes, Alice?
I have a sample from last time. I just like to share it so that people can
Sure,
see
go
what we
ahead.
expect. Yes. So I'll share my slide. I'll just share the screen. So this is a sample from somebody from last season who was managing their blood sugar. And where did I lost the sharing tool? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so okay, there we go. And I'll talk about the name, Dr. Chino, you can share, see. So this was somebody who volunteered their sugars last time, so we can use it for learning. So this person, you see, one of the things we tell you is you need to know what's a fasting blood sugar, what is 1 hour after meal, what's high, 2 hours after meal, what's high. You need to know. Most of the time when you ask people, what's your blood sugar? What's a blood sugar of 10? In fact, let me post that on the group here. Lydia, can you post that? When you get a blood sugar of 10 for fasting, what does that mean? I've removed the chart so that you don't see. When you have a blood sugar of 10 for fasting in
Lydia,
the
can I
morning
put
before
it?
you
I
eat
have it.
anything, what is
Yeah.
it?
Okay.
What did you say?
Can
No,
you see it?
I'm asking them. They were here last time. Why are you giving them leakage?
No, we didn't put this yet last time.
Oh, you didn't talk about blood sugar monitoring.
We did, but we didn't give this.
Okay, but you gave the glucose monitoring charts.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's okay. Okay, very good then. Atino, you can present that bit and then we can show this other chart that I had.
Yeah, so if you're checking your blood glucose, you want your fasting to lie between
Full
3.5
screen.
to 5, 1 hour after meals at 6 to 9, 2 hours after meals 7 to 10, 3 hours after meals 6 to 9, 4 hours after meals 4.5 to 8, and 5 hours after meal at 3.5 to 5 millimoles. So that is what you're aiming for. So even if you're not able to measure 2 hours, whatever time you measure your blood sugar, you are able to relate it to the previous meal. Fasting is after 6 hours. Anything above 6 hours is considered fasting.
Okay, very good. So it's important to know what your blood sugars are. You need to know what your numbers are so that you can you can know that my sugars are well, how my sugars are doing well, I'm in tight control, I'm in poor control. So let's look at this chart here. So this is somebody who has measured their sugar and you got the blood sugar monitoring sheet. So what will be good for you is to share it with us so that we can be able to educate you further. Please note that the more you share, the more you will get from us. And you know what you see? See a different screen has popped up here. The blood sugar charts.
Yes.
Okay, so let me increase the size so you can see. So this is the sugar chart we shared with you. So we have your blood sugar levels, the hours after meals, classification, and dietary intake. And this classification is what we help you with. But so this person was getting fasting blood sugar was high. All of them were high, 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 high. And 1 hour after meal, still raised blood sugar. And they were able to do it for a couple of days. And you can see they were even going to be as high as 15, 2 hours after meal, 13.6, 10.6.
Say my name right. I'm sick of it.
So what was important here,
I
Lydia?
can never call you Zelda.
Thank you. So what's important here is you might think that these sugars are high. Yes, the benefit of the client or the patient is that now they know their blood sugar, because people do not measure their blood sugar. So they understand these are my blood sugar. And then now we work with this person to be able to reduce their blood sugar. So if you haven't recorded, please take this week to record your sugars, your fasting, your 1 hour after meal, 2 hours after meal, and pre-meal. So the more sugars you do, the better. And in this section here, you're supposed to note your food intake. Then send it to me, send it to Dr. Jalang'o, send it to Lydia, and then we can use it for education. Okay? So in relation to this, do we have any questions? Because this relationship, just hold on a second, please. Yeah, sorry, my family member was distracting me. Yes, so please record your sugars, and then we will have a session to review them. The session we are having now, carbohydrate intelligence, is directly related to your sugars and how it controls your sugars. So if you have data, it will be very, very helpful for us to take you to the next level. Not only were you supposed to share blood sugar data, but you're also sharing blood pressure data. So please, can you send that so that in our next session, the first 20 minutes, we can look at some examples and help you what you do better. And nobody is going to know your name. You just remove your name. But as long as you're learning, you're happy. We are happy. And of course, there are some people who also use continuous glucose monitoring. So you can just share your data and then we can work with that. Thank you very much. So do we have any question in relation to the blood sugar numbers before we go on to the next session? Thank you. Hello, I would like to know more on the concept of carbohydrate counting. Yes, we are going to do that now. Blood sugar, okay. Yep. Okay, thank you very much. So if there are no questions, then shall we go on to the next session? Rendani, fasting glucose of 11 postprandial is high. Fasting is the one you take before the meal, okay? Postprandial is the one you take after the meal. So those are two. So a fasting of 11 is very, very high because fasting should be between 3.5 to 5 millimoles. But some people actually use the milligrams, so we can only help you if you ask the questions and post your questions here, then we can respond to them. Atieno, ranges for HbA1c, please.
Less than 7%.
Yes.
You want to aim for a HbA1c less than 7. Of course, you don't want to go down to 6. No. So if you can keep it between 6 and 7, that would be good. But you want, for good control, very good diabetes control, HbA1c less than 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
7%.
Very good. Okay. So we can go on to the next part. Lydia?
Yes, yes. So now we know where we stand. So it's time to learn what we can do about it. So the session we've all been waiting for, carbohydrate intelligence and portion control. And I'm really delighted to invite Dr. Ojwang to take us through this important topic. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. And of course, as much as I'm presenting this data was analyzed by our nutrition intern, Oh, she's not nutrition intern. She's a nutrition assistant, Nemali. Where's Nemali? Did she just disappear here? Okay, very good. So I'm going to share my slides because for this session, you need to see slides. Yeah, Nemali, you can talk, okay? So, so please tell me if you can see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. So the question is, what is carbohydrate intelligence? What do you think carbohydrate intelligence? I'd like to hear more from you. Please, what is carbohydrate? What do you think carbohydrate intelligence is all about? And we know some people have done this session, but for those who have not done, what is carbohydrate intelligence? Do you have anything on the chat, Lydia?
Not yet. Feel free to unmute.
Going once, going twice, going three, gone. Okay, very good. So carbohydrate intelligence is really for you to master and know your carbs and how it affects your health, and especially blood sugars, because this session is for everybody. And in the past, we used to do this session just for people living with diabetes. But this, when you learn your carbohydrates and manage them accordingly, you will be able to control blood sugar better. You'll be able to reduce or control or reduce cholesterol levels, lose weight, and many other benefits. Yes, Dr. Jalang'o.
Now, Viola Chepkorir sent in an answer, understanding how carbohydrates affect blood sugar.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Violet. Okay, so let's go. What is this carbohydrate intelligence? So it's really a way of carbohydrate counting. It's a meal planning approach highlighting the total amount of carbohydrates consumed. The total amount consumed in a meal, total amount. The source does not matter, and you'll understand why I'm saying that. The type of carbohydrate consumed does not matter. A carbohydrate is a carbohydrate is a carbohydrate. And why do I say that? It's because what happens is in our market, we have what we call nutrition fraud. People will say that you have diabetic bread, you have bread for people who are overweight, you have bread for people with cholesterol. But you see, it is still a carbohydrate. When you consume it, it becomes 100% glucose. So it doesn't matter. But why it is important to not concentrate on carbohydrates, diabetic bread, is because most of the time when you buy a diabetic bread, you want to eat more of it because you think that it is healthier. But the more you eat, the higher the blood sugar. We will see that as we come. Of course, it's very important to eat natural. It is important to eat natural food, whole meal, which will raise your sugar, moderately as compared to refined. But for this lesson, we want to understand that the source does not matter. We want to highlight the total amount of carbohydrate consumed, especially when you consume carbohydrates in one meal. And you will see. So the benefits is you control blood sugar. And really, this is a trick we have learned over the years. If you manage your carbohydrates better, you reduce the dosages of your medication for cholesterol, for blood pressure, for diabetes. And if you are very, very good with the other lifestyle factors that we discuss, like exercise and portion sizes, then you even do better. You can put type 2 diabetes in remission. And this is a secret. So please listen keenly. Improves immune system, controlling weight, controlling lipid profile, and prevention of other chronic diseases, and improve the quality of life. So just this session, carbohydrate intelligence, people who applied it, even people who had kidney problem, people who have autoimmune condition, people who had liver problems or fatty liver disease, they were able to actually put some of those conditions in remission. So which foods are classified as carbohydrates? Most people know all starches are carbohydrates, but which are other foods? Can you please just type it there? Is there anything typed there, Lydia? Which foods are carbohydrates?
We have
Lydia?
beans, cereals,
Yes.
milk,
Yeah.
rice, potatoes, starchy
Yes.
food, bread, fruits, beans,
Yeah.
chapati.
Yeah, I think so. You've named all of them. So all starches are carbs, all fruits are carbs. When I tell people fruits are carb, we fight. All legumes are carbs because most legumes are 60% carbohydrates, 20% protein. So most people classify legumes as protein, but no, they fall under carbs. All types of dairy except cheese are carbohydrates. Your yogurt, your fresh milk, they're all your fermented milk is carbohydrate. All sweetened beverages, uncarbonated are carbohydrates. All right. And so you know that. You know all these are carbohydrates. Okay. So then what is my story for today? So there has been a confusion for a very long time because fat is high in calorie and carbohydrates are not high in calorie. Most people actually end up fearing fat and eating more carbohydrates. And that is a problem. And also growing up, and when I was in the university, this is what we learned as an undergrad. You need more carbs in your diet, and you need little protein and little fat, which is fine, but you can't eat this much carbs, especially when you're past age 40, when you're managing a chronic condition, because it is actually a problem. And so some people will say, how can milk be like, how can milk have glucose? How can fruit have glucose? But we can see starches and sugars are broken down into glucose. Milk is lactose, that is sugar, lactose, and fructose. And actually, fructose is the worst sugar. People abuse fructose because people eat so many fruits. You can eat one fruit in a meal. If you're given 5 fruits, you cannot eat 5 of them. But if you juice it up, you're able to actually drink a glass of 5 fruits. And so then you end taking up so much fructose. So everything must be taken in moderation. Then, with time, we'll be able to train you and for you to identify how much carbohydrates are you eating. By the end of the session, you will know if you eat a lot of carbohydrates or not, because those plates that you gave us, we are able to use it to analyze your carbohydrate. So how does your carbohydrates impact your blood sugar? And remember, it impacts everybody, not just the person living with diabetes. Remember, the more sugar you are producing, the more sugar your body is making, the higher the risk of actually becoming insulin resistant and being type 2 diabetes. So what happens when you eat a high glycemic carbs, like high food, a lot of carbohydrates? You have a rapid spike, the blood sugar rises very quickly, the pancreas releases a large amount of insulin, and then the blood sugar plummets, leading to you end up having fatigue, brain fog, irritability, and then you start hunger cravings, you have low energy, and you go back to the same problem. And this is why you see people are carbohydrate junkie. Breakfast, you eat carbohydrates. 10 o'clock, you eat carbohydrates. Lunchtime, carbohydrates. 4, 5 snack carbohydrates, and you keep eating carbohydrates. Definitely not a good idea. So then I like this definition of the American Dietetic Association. It said diabetes is a condition that affects the way your body uses food for energy. So all of us, the food we eat is converted to blood sugar. Then the body converts it to energy. So when you're living with diabetes, it means that your body is not able to convert this blood sugar into energy. And so it needs the help of medication or insulin to utilize that energy. So because it is about food, it means that if you change your diet, if you're living with diabetes or any chronic condition, you will recover. So this is a graph I like to use. It shows that this is how much carbohydrates. When you take food, carbohydrates is converted to 100% sugar. You can see that. And then protein and then fat is less. So if you eat refined carbohydrates, it's even your sugars are higher as compared to whole meal carbohydrates. So this is the clincher, the effect on your blood sugar. So Dr. Unwin, who is an endocrinologist in the UK, developed a way of educating people living with diabetes. And what he did a study where he was able to actually use the grams found in carbohydrates, like the weight of carbohydrates, and be able to approximate it to a teaspoon of sugar. Meaning that if you take approximately 5 grams of carbohydrates, is equivalent to taking a teaspoon of sugar. So we'll show you examples. So you can understand what 5 grams is and how that is related to a teaspoon of sugar. So this is an infographic from this same doctor, David Unwin. So if you take bran flakes, it's about 30 grams of bran flakes. It's equivalent to taking about 3.7 teaspoons of sugar. If you take milk, 125 ml, which is like a quarter glass, that is like taking 1 teaspoon of sugar. If you take brown toast usually, a slice of bread will have 3 to about 15 grams of carbohydrates. And that's how it is made. That's how God created it. It has that much sugar. So if you take brown toast, 1 slice alone is equivalent to 3 teaspoons of sugar. And pure apple juice will give you this much sugar. So what does this actually mean? So what people consider a healthy breakfast is like having cereals, toast, and fruit juice. So you remember, is cereal a carbohydrate? Is toast a carbohydrate? Is fruit juice a carbohydrate? So what does that mean? It means that you've had 3 carbohydrates in 1 meal. That is equivalent to having 16 teaspoons of sugar. Like this, literally, that's what you're taking. So meaning if you have 3 carbohydrates in a meal, the amount of sugar you're taking is high, and that's equivalent to amount of sugar your body is producing, which will require a lot of medication. But if you have 1 carbohydrate in a meal, it's better. And of course, he went on to give us infographics. We're going to share these infographics in the group. You can look at this. If you have a fruit like a banana, 1 banana is about 120 grams. That is equivalent to about 5.9 teaspoons of sugar. It just means that it has about 5 times 5, about 20 grams of carbohydrates. I hope you get that. All right. And so we'll share this also. So what is the impact of the portions of carbohydrates on your blood sugar? So we have developed a book that is able to show us, if you take this much carbohydrates, 150 grams of carbohydrates, that's like taking 9 teaspoons of sugar, because this is directly related to the amount of teaspoons. So means naturally when you take rice, this much rice will have 42 grams of carbohydrates. If you divide this by 5 grams, that gives you 9 teaspoons of sugar. In other words, okay. let's fast forward. We said a slice of bread is about 16 grams. That's about 3 teaspoons. You can see brown bread is better than white bread. Okay, let's fast forward. So we requested you to put your plates so that we can be able to analyze this in terms of the carbohydrate content. We'd like to thank you so much for posting your plates. Thank you. We'd like to thank you so much for posting your plates. You posted so many, so we've used some and we will continue to use some in the future. Please note that the more you post, the more we learn from it. We like to educate you based on what you actually eat, not what we think you should eat. So thank you so much for posting these pictures. So if you see your picture here and has so much carbohydrates, please, it is a learning. We're just learning. So don't feel bad at all. Take it as a learning opportunity and then change. So this is plate number 1. So this person had eggs, they had fruit, and they had bread. So how many types of carbohydrates did they have? Did they have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 types of carbohydrates? You can put in the chat. Yep. I want to see the chat going on. Yes. Let's go. So they had 3 types. Okay, so ideally they had 2 types of carbohydrates. They had bread and they had fruit, but the fruit was just classified as different types. So if you say 2, perfect. Thank you very much. So this means we have double carbohydrates on this plate. So is that a good thing or a bad thing when you have double carbohydrates? I'm looking at the post. Good thing or a bad thing? Bad, because the more carbs you have, the higher the sugar, the higher the medication. Thank you for understanding. So the more we have, the more the sugar. So we want to make sure we're having 1 carb. So what do you think should have been in the place of bread or in the place of fruit? What do you think should have been there to make this plate even better? Vegetables. Well done, Beth. Okay, so the person should have chosen to either have fruit as the carbohydrate or to have the bread as the carbohydrate. And then the other part, they will add vegetables. So thank you. I hope you will do that in the future. Okay, there are many plates. Let me run. So you have this plate, okay? The person had, okay, I don't see legumes here, but looks like there's legumes here. So they had legumes, they had bread, or maybe we sometimes use equivalent of mandazi. And then they also had rice, which they hid over here. So what happens here? They have a total of about 14 teaspoons of sugar, okay? So they could have left something out. What do you think they should have left out of this meal? And should we be having 3 plates of food? What do you think they should have left out? Lydia, Nemali, please, Nemali especially, be active here, okay? So they should have left out the rice because they had bread, or they could have left out the bread because they already had rice, okay? And even the legumes so that they can have 1 carbohydrates. So here we also have triple carbohydrates. You can see we have fruits and we have potatoes. Oh, and we have maize and beans. So triple carbohydrates, 11 teaspoons. You see, yeah? Okay, here we go. You can see this whole meal is carbohydrate. So how much sugar are you actually taking? So we have fruits, we have rice, and we have legumes, which are carbohydrates. Yes. So what was, please make a recommendation for this plate. No laughing, please. You should be sad. I see Portia laughing there. What would be the recommendation for this plate? Which would be the better carbohydrate to have in the meal? They have 3 carbohydrates. If they were to take 1, which would be the best to have in this meal? Legumes, yes. So legumes is the better carbohydrate here. However, what it literally means, one day they can eat rice. for breakfast, and then they can eat their legumes for lunch as the carb, and then fruit for dinner. Then all that place they can put vegetables. So this would have been, this is 3 carbohydrates for 3 meals. So if you're going to manage our health, manage our blood sugar better, then we want to pay attention. So let's go. Here we have carbohydrates. Again, more carbohydrates. You can see the plate is 3/4 carbohydrates. So we have, the person who was doing this normally is very keen. There's arrowroot here. There's, I think, sweet potatoes, and maybe there's a banana, boiled banana. So that's a lot of sugar in one meal. So if you want to avoid all that sugar, you know what to do. What should you do? Put it there. Okay, so we have again, and people have a habit of eating fruits after meal. Growing up, it's not a problem. Growing up, it's fine. You need to have fruit. But as in our 40s, in our 50s, in our 60s, with diabetes, with weight issues, then we want to be a bit more intelligent how we utilize the carbohydrates. So please note that you have not been doing wrong eating all these carbohydrates. You're just learning a new way of having the carbohydrates so that your sugars are not going crazy and your dosages of medication are dropping. All right. So here we have 2 carbohydrates. All right. Yes. So then you see we have, this is ugali or stiff maize meal with beans, double carbohydrates. And if you measure your sugar, eat like this, measure your sugar, and then eat vegetables, replace this with vegetables and measure your sugar. You will see the difference. Yes, Portia, we know you're not laughing. No problem. Thank you. Okay. So you can see we have, and of course the milk also has carbohydrates. So I hope you're learning. And we thank you so much for posting these plates because we would not have had anything to analyze. Right, Dr. Jalang'o? Eh?
Correct. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you for posting. So this is two, this is not double. This is, why are we calling it triple? They just have double carbs. They just have bread and they have milk, which is not too bad actually, you know. Yeah, but you get the point. This is fruit, okay? And we have potatoes, so double carbohydrate. So what we want to learn is to have how many types of carbohydrate in a meal? How many types of carbohydrate should we have in a meal? I'm waiting. 1. Yes, you try 1. And even if you have 2, then you make sure it is portions. Yes, one carbohydrate a meal. So it can be fruit, it can be yogurt, it can be bread, it can be rice, but just 1. So this is, you see, fruits and a piece of cake or cookies or a big fat cookie. That's a lot of carbohydrates. Okay, so you get the drill. So here we have what you call chapati in East Africa. We have potato and we have fruit. So we have fruit salad is a common meal. But how many fruits are you eating? You know, if you're having 1 fruit, you add some nuts, you have some cucumber in your fruit. It's a balance. Okay, yes. So this must have been a treat. Occasionally, you can have a treat, but this looks like ice cream. So I don't think it's yogurt unless the person said it's yogurt, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's carry on. All right, you can see your food pictures. Yeah, you can see. So that's not too bad. Okay. This one. This is a lot of carbs. You can see that. So you have chips or French fries, then you have a hamburger, double bun. That's like 35 teaspoons of sugar. That's excess. So we don't want to eat like this. Occasionally, if you really love your burger and chips together, occasionally you can do this, but this cannot be part of your weekly meal or your weekly meal. It cannot be. It's just going to drive your sugar and you're going to be struggling to lose weight. And this is the problem. Can you imagine how much sugar that is? So we don't want to eat things like this. Bread, double carbohydrates, bread and chips, okay? Not too bad. So anyway, we took time to analyze everything. You can see this person has a very nice meal here. So imagine if we just had the beans and the salad. That would be lovely, but then we have chapati, Yeah. Okay. You see, double carbohydrates. It's a common thing in our meals. It's very common. Very common. Okay? This person also had rice, and I think they had spaghetti. The spaghetti is already finished. So there was double carbohydrates here. They forgot to, they posted after. Okay? So it's not too bad. So we have finished. We have looked at your plates. You can see where you are. If it's your plate, these are very good portion of carbohydrate. Okay? Yes, these are good portion of carbohydrate. Yeah. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. This is a whole plate of carbohydrates. So we want to eat still our maize and beans, but means we half it. Half maize and beans and half vegetables. Okay, now I have a question as we are ending this part. You have already seen, you've already learned, okay? So how much carbohydrates are you going to have in a meal? And what is the other food that should occupy a good part of your meal? I'm just waiting for people to post. How many carbohydrates in one meal, and what's the other food that should occupy your plate? This is very little carbohydrate, but generally it looks like it's out of food, okay? Yeah. Looks like a big fish, but it could be small. Yep. More vegetables in your diet. Okay, thank you. You did a lot of analysis. Thank you very much, Nemali. We can see that. Some portions were good, some portions were not bad. What do you think is the issue with this plate? Is it the carbohydrate or is it the portion? Both. Says both. I think the carbohydrate is a lot, and then the portion is also light. So what you want to do is also learn to use a plate of food. One plate should be about this long, this much. Your plate should be the size of your fingers. If you're shorter, you need less food than a tall person. So a taller person will have a bigger plate than a short person. Yeah. Okay, so we've seen good examples. This is a good example and bad examples. Okay, so in other words, to lengthen thy meals, to lengthen thy lives, lessen thy meals. So what we are requesting you here from today, and let's see the difference so that when we analyze your food, for you who is posting, if you post, we'll analyze your food in week 5 and 6, we'll analyze your foods, and then we'll be able to make recommendations for you. So today we've learned about carbohydrates, but there is more to learn from your plates of food. So don't stop posting. Please note that the more you post, the more we learn. Imagine if we didn't have these plates. Would we have learned about carbohydrate intelligence? We didn't want to borrow plates from another season. So thank you so much for doing your part so that we can have a lovely session. So we will take questions and then we will call it a day. I think I saw a question here. Rachel Mwadime, if I want to eat githeri as my carb, what will be the ratio of maize and beans? So the ratio doesn't really matter. The maize is a carbohydrate, beans is a carbohydrate. So it means that what would matter is the portion on your plate. So you want to make sure half of your plate is now that maize and beans, and the other half is vegetables. Or always make sure half is vegetables, a quarter protein, and a quarter starch. Yeah. Okay. Questions? Keep them coming.
Yeah, we had one. Why do we limit fat intake on diabetes patients, whereas it contains less glucose?
In this session, have we talked about limiting fat? Not at all. We have not talked about it, but it's good to have a moderate amount of fat. So we shouldn't go frying the food. But the basics are here. Your animal protein already usually have fat. So you don't need to add any fats. And if you add fat, you add reasonable for frying your onions, which is a teaspoon, 2 tablespoons, 3, like small for frying your onions. Because fat is not as bad as everybody thinks. Your green vegetables, most of the green vegetables they have fat soluble vitamins. So it means you need to add fat in your green vegetables to be able to utilize the fat soluble vitamins. So you should not eat boiled food. You should not eat food without oil. You need to add oil, but moderate. Things like fried food and fried things, you can have those occasionally because we also have to be realistic. Occasionally you can have your fried this and fried this and fried this, but most of the time you want to have moderate. So we are not limiting, but we are recommending that you have moderate intake of oil or fats in your diet. Yeah. So there's a question here. Is there a recommended meal plan, breakfast, lunch, or dinner? No, darling, we are going to educate you so that you can apply what you're learning. Right now, as I was doing this session on carbohydrate, you could see very well, you shouldn't have 2 carbs, you should have 1 carb, you should have more vegetables and protein. So we're not going to give you our plan. The recommendation today is change your plate to reflect what you've learned today. Next week, we will learn something else. So you're going to change your plate to reflect that. By the end of week 12, we are just in week 3, my friend. By the end of week 12, we shall have given you, empowered you to be a chief nutritionist in your family and to make better recommendations to help people. Yes. How do we calculate the teaspoons of sugar? We don't want you to calculate the teaspoons of sugar. We want you to start by reducing your carbs. These numbers are for nutritionists and dietitians. So I was using them so that you can understand the amount of sugar you're consuming. So I don't want you to calculate. So understanding, and what you can do, you can rewatch this video. So you don't need to calculate. The calculation was to be able to show you the amount of sugar you're eating so that you can understand what you need to do. Yeah. Okay, would you like to add anything, Atieno, Nemali?
Yeah, there's a question. When it comes to glucose monitoring and control, what is the recommended time between meals? I don't understand the question. Is it that the recommended time that you should be testing your blood glucose or the time from one meal to another? Portia?
Portia, please just ask the question, unmute and ask, or raise your hand and then we can unmute you.
Then Chaga is asking, did I miss examples of good plates or all plates were bad? There were some good plates. Huh?
There were very many good plates. And now that we've done this session, we are going to go back to the group. Nemali and I will go back to the group and we will now start crossing off. And please don't get angry. Don't feel bad. We are learning. We cross. We'll cross. This one had 3. We'll just write triple carb, double carb, triple carb, double carb, so that you know. There were examples of good plates and we will be ticking the plates. So if you want to learn, we will be post your pictures, then we can actually tick it, write a comment on it so that everybody can learn from that. Yeah. There were many examples of good plates. So maybe I can just show, let me just share as we go on. Portia, we are waiting for you to mute and talk.
She has
has
written something. Okay. She was asking the time from one meal to another.
Okay.
Definitely no snacking. Eh?
Yeah.
No snacking. So 3 times a day, probably let's say 7 to 8 around 12 to 2, and then in the evening, at least by 8, you should have eaten. And as you grow older, you can very well do with just 2 meals in a day. So just don't eat as a habit. Eat to address hunger. So your body, listen to the body, it will guide you. But as you reduce your carbs, you will notice that your hunger pangs are less. Carbohydrates are digested easily, so you get hungry more often if your meal is high in carbs. So you need, as you reduce the total amount of carbs that you take, you'll notice hunger also goes down.
Yes. And if you apply some of the things we talked about in the first, second, third session, you need to include animal protein in the morning. That's digested for 6 to 7 hours. So that keeps you actually full for longer. So you're not snacking. The reason I've drawn this chart here, and I can see some people are helping me draw, is because I wanted to show you why we shouldn't snack, okay? If you are 18 and below, you can snack. But if you are 40 and above, you want to stop snacking. So if this is your normal blood sugar, assuming. So remember, every time you eat, the food becomes blood sugar. And the sugar, the body has to use that for energy. If you're living with diabetes, it means you need more medication to lower the sugar to normal. So you eat breakfast, blood sugar goes up. You eat a snack, the sugar goes up. You eat lunch, the sugar increases. Again, you go and you eat, that is lunch. Then you eat an afternoon snack. Then you eat dinner. Then some people have a bedtime snack. In fact, most time people treat hypoglycemia by eating. So in this session, we want to keep educating you so that you are doing the right thing. If you have hypo because you reduce your carb, you know that your lifestyle is better. So what you need to do, yes, that particular time you need to eat so that you don't get hypo, but you need to talk to your doctor to reduce the dosage of your medication. Yeah, so I hope you get it. So the more times you eat, the more the sugar. The more times you eat, the more you have a problem controlling your weight. Yes, Portia. Dr. Jalang'o, are you able to answer the question?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Portia's hand is up. We want to hear some voices, please.
Yes, yeah. Portia, go ahead.
Yes, I was going to find out, of course, I heard a lot of myths. That's why I asked. Some would say, oh, it has to be 4 hours between meals. It has to be 5 hours. So different ideas. But then I got the answer from Dr. Jalang'o. But the second question is on if you're trying to be on a plant-based diet, then how do you combine your meals so that you don't become hypoglycemic, so that you're able to be full for longer? So how do you kind of arrange your plate? What would be good to have on your plate so that you do not become hungry quickly? Because I know, like, if you have some protein, you can go for longer periods without feeling hungry or becoming hypoglycemic.
Thank you. Very good question. I'll start by answering or adding on to what Dr. Jalang'o said on the first one. So please note that when you come here, we're not going to be making prescriptions that you start eating 4 hours between every meal. There's nothing like that. You have a habit. You know when you take your breakfast, you know when you take your lunch, you know when you take your dinner. So you're going to continue eating how you eat, but you're making changes. You're making changes to your diet. You're listening to your body, and you're making changes as we go. So there's nothing like eat 3 hours after food. That one is for infants. Infants who are born, we know they must eat because they can't speak. They don't know how to speak. So please just eat how you've been eating, but you're making changes as we go, and just take it slowly. Now we want to make sure we're having less carbs, more vegetables, your plate looks better. And then next time we have something else for you. Now, when it comes to being a vegetarian, how do you make sure that you're not getting hungry? Same thing. What is your vegetables? You need to eat, all of us needs to eat dense, high density carbohydrates like wholemeal. When you eat wholemeal, it lasts you longer. That applies to everybody, plus vegetarians. You can also include more nuts and seeds. That's your protein, and it will last you long. A handful of nuts will last you as long as meat will last you. Some avocado in your diet, some coconut in your diet, some fats in your diet, that will last you longer. Yes. So I want to be a vegetarian for the next month so that I understand vegetarian. So watch out. We'll start posting. We'll start posting from next week because I don't want you to copy my plate. I want you to give me what you've been eating. Yes. So I hope that answers your question. I saw another question come in here. Yes, there are so many good plates, and if you watch the video, you'll see the difference, and we are going to also comment on the group. I'm not a member of the group. It's my first time attending the meetings. Yes, I think today is the last day we are taking new people. So you must have gotten a link that tells you how to be able to get onto the group. So please follow the instructions that you received and make your request to join the group. And today is the last day because now we've already learned so much. So if you're still feeling like you've missed information, please go back and repeat the orientation program, week 1 program, week 2 program, because today is week 3, so that we are moving together and you're not lagging behind. Is it okay to miss breakfast and eat and or something is blocking my view? Dr. Jalang'o, do you want to read it?
Is it okay? Which one?
Abby, is it okay to miss breakfast and eat remainder of the day? Abby, could you just ask the question? I'm not understanding it here. Somebody says I have the same question. Okay, I'm not understanding. Who's understanding? Abby, please raise your hand and let's unmute you. Yep. That's the question left, and then we can end. We can do.
Oh, there's some others. Oh.
Okay, Abby, would you like
Move
to
to
ask
the
the
next?
question,
Yeah.
please? Or Nemali, do you understand the question? Also, you need to tell us something since you're analyzing this food.
Probably she was asking maybe can she miss breakfast and then eat thereafter? Maybe the lunch and supper.
Yeah, because this is why we were saying we are not recommending how you eat, because there are people here who eat breakfast at 10, who eat breakfast at 12 o'clock. There is nothing wrong with that if that has been your lifestyle. So what you want to make sure, are you eating healthy? So yes, you can eat don't start skipping breakfast, because if you've been eating breakfast and you start skipping breakfast, you will start getting very hungry. So it's what have you been doing? That would be my question. And then I can answer you from what you've been doing. Yeah. Okay. I have a problem. Yes, that is it.
Now, this might sound funny, but is there a weighing scale for the portions we are to eat?
No, there is no weighing scale, but just make the changes. Don't be scared. You'll be okay. And then next week, we'll be talking about how to measure your portions. So don't miss.
Are we going to have the slides of the presentation?
You will have the video for the presentation.
Yeah, it will be on YouTube, isn't it?
Yes, it's on YouTube, and we'll share the link in the group. And Lucy is asking how to join the group. Maybe, Lydia, you can post how to join the group.
Okay. If I have bad cholesterol, how many eggs a week can I take? Because I asked her to put in which of the components of the lipid profile. Is it the total cholesterol? Is it the low density cholesterol? Or is it the triglycerides, That may help. But how many eggs would you recommend if the cholesterol is bad, Alice?
We are not recommending eggs.
Yeah.
We are not making recommendation for eggs. So when you eat, what do you normally eat? Do you eat so many eggs a week? But what people don't know, and what I want you to remember, is that your body absorbs 25% cholesterol. That means the body absorbs about 25% from foods that have molecules of cholesterol. However, the body makes 75% of your total cholesterol. That means that the body is using all the other foods you're eating, like carbohydrates, different types of fat, to make cholesterol. So eggs alone is not the problem. It is everything that you're eating. Everything that you're eating. Because remember, the body is using what you eat to make 75% of your total cholesterol. Yes. I hope that helps. Okay, we must have the last question. Lydia is not looking very happy with us.
Yeah, I think that was it.
All right, we have two more from YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Abby had a question. Let Abby go, and then you ask from YouTube.
All right.
Abby, please go ahead. You can unmute and speak. Okay.
Ask
you can ask.
YouTube. Lydia, go
All
ahead
right.
now. Yeah.
Okay, so can you give an example of an ideal budget-friendly breakfast?
Not yet. Thank you for asking those questions. But actually, we have a session on grocery shopping and meal planning. So that's where a simple budget is going to come up. So this week, we want you to, sorry, please bear with us. We know you have so many questions, but we will address.
Just for this one would be nice. Should those who go to the gym also stick to 1 carb for every meal?
Yes, darling. Why not?
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
1 carb in every, just learn to eat a carb in every meal. And then when we go on to the next week's session, which is on portion sizes, then you will
That's
know
where
how
it
to play
changes.
around with your portions. Yeah. But most of the time, we're not eating badly. We're just making a few mistakes here and there. And so when we change, we are okay. Then because you're also listening to your body, you'll remove 1 carb. You're going to fill that space with more vegetables and also maybe increase a little bit of your protein. So if you eat that, you should be fine. If you feel hungry sooner, let's say you eat your breakfast at 8 and then 11 o'clock you're hungry and you add this meal, then it means that you need to increase your portion. But it doesn't mean you need to increase your carb. You need to increase vegetables, then protein in terms of things like nuts, then fat in your diet, things like avocado and coconut, before you actually put in carbohydrates. Yes.
And just to add something, Alice, if you're going to the gym and you have diabetes and you notice that you're getting hungrier, the issue may be you need your medication lowered, not to eat more.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, because as you exercise, your body becomes efficient. It uses glucose better. So if you have diabetes and you're on medication, what we normally do, we don't increase the amount of food you eat. We actually reduce the amount of medicine that you need.
Yes. And if you follow and make changes in your diet, you start getting hypos. You start seeing what happens. So somebody, Portia says here that thank you much for these good answers and for having this program. The doctor I was referred to when it was discovered that I'm pre-diabetic advised to take small portions of food with 2 to 4 hour intervals. So this really helps. Dr. Jalang'o, would you like to say something about that?
No,
No.
that doesn't help a lot because you are exposing yourself to too much insulin. Every time you eat, the body produces insulin. So you need to reduce the amount of time that you are eating, you see? Because as you expose yourself to too much insulin, you actually worsen the insulin resistance. So what you need to do is reduce your meal times to at least 3 times. Watch your carbohydrate portions. And the other thing, ensure you have vegetable at all meals. You don't need to eat at closer intervals.
In fact, the older you get, the less you need to be eating. And please note that doctors don't study nutrition and dietetics. I have studied undergraduate, master's, PhD, 27 years of experience. That I am a nutritionist, I'm a dietitian. That's what I do for a living. Doctors are not dietitians. So you need to talk to dietitians to help you with your diet. Thank you. There's a question from YouTube, Lydia. Is this the one you posted here?
Yeah.
Why is my sugar reading always fluctuating even when I walk? Dr. Jalang'o, please.
Your blood sugar can never stay constant because your blood sugar responds to a lot of things around you, your environment, the temperature, the weather, and then also to your stress levels, okay? So I don't know what you mean by fluctuating. Do you mean that there are different readings that you have? There's no constant reading. Blood sugar, even after 5 minutes, will say something else. After 10 minutes, it's something else. So if that is what you're experiencing, that is normal. But if you are having high, dropping down low, going back up, then it's an issue that we have to look at your total life, you know. Are there any stresses in your life? How are your meals? Are you eating the right portions for carbohydrates? What is the composition of your meals? How long are you walking? You know, all that could impact. It's a question that cannot be totally answered until we sit down and have a full review of your life. So
Yes.
it's quite complex, actually, as simple as it is complex.
Yeah, but what I would like to say also, measure your sugars at recommended times. What we recommend, measure your sugar, fasting blood sugar, 1 hour after meal, 2 hours after meals, and pre-meal. It can be pre-lunch and pre-breakfast. That way we can be able to help you. We shared blood sugar. We shared a blood sugar reading sheet. So if you can, Lydia, just find a way of posting that so that somebody, whoever, especially the person asking this question, should be able to fill that, and then we can be able to help them interpret the blood sugar is the next session, and then help them go from whatever it is high to what's normal. Yes. Oh, you guys. 1 hour later.
Kindly comment on legumes versus pulses in terms of carb content.
Legumes have high carb as compared to raw pulses. When the pulses are raw, they are lower in carbohydrate content. But somehow when they are dried, their carbohydrate content is high. But legumes have a higher carb content than pulses generally. Yeah. But they'll still be considered carbohydrates, especially when they're dried. Yeah. But I will do also more reading on that. Yeah. Okay, so please note that for you to get more information, post your pictures, send us your blood sugar readings. You don't need to put it in the group. Blood pressure readings so that we can comment on it and help you to master diabetes. So at this point, we want to give it to Lydia. Thank you very much, Dr. Jalang'o. Thank you. Nemali, did you say anything?
Not really. It has been quite an
Yeah, tell
interesting
us
session.
something. You're analyzing all the food.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. And it has been quite an interesting session. About the food analysis, you guys have really done an amazing job, I'd say, because most of your foods had some vegetables. Your portionings are not really badly off, but there's room for improvement. So for next week, let's try and have more vegetables on our plates and less fruits and portion our legumes and our starches as well. But kudos for the good job, and let's keep challenging ourselves. And it's not really hard. Don't overthink. One step at a time. Each week, anything you learn, just add it on your plate and all will be well. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, our dear trainers, Dr. Ojwang, Ms. Jalang'o, Nemali. We've really learned from the plates. Thank you for analyzing that for the benefit of the whole group. I'm sure we could all relate with our topic today. Many of us have learned something that will change the way we choose our meals. As always, knowledge becomes powerful when we put it into practice. Now that we understand what carbohydrates are and how to make wiser carbohydrate choices, the next question is equally important. How much should we eat? Well,
Lydia,
time.
just
We don't try that. I want to pick one.
okay, carry on.
Right, thank you very much. Time could not allow us to consider portion control. But guess what? We meet here again next week on Monday and we start with that. But to take us through the week, Dr. Ojwang, do we have a challenge of this week?
Yes. Yes. We always have a challenge for the week. So the challenge for the week is to choose just one carbohydrate for your meal. So you have fruits are carbohydrate, legumes are carbohydrate, all your starches are carbohydrates. So which is going to be my carbohydrate for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner? Or if you have 2 meals, what will be my carb for breakfast? What will be your carb for dinner? Let's see carbohydrate displayed on your plates in the group. Thank you very much. That's the challenge for the week.
All right, and we are ready. So as we come to the end of today's session, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to our presenters, Dr. Ojwang, Ms. Jalang'o, Nemali. Thank you so much for generously sharing this knowledge with us, the practical tips. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your passion of helping people live healthier lives. To everyone who has joined us today, thank you so much for your time, your questions, your experiences, your honesty. We really, really treasure this. Remember, learning is the first step, but applying what you've learned is what brings real transformation. So now it's time to go to work, literally. If your goal is to improve blood sugar, reduce your dependence on medication, in consultation, of course, with your healthcare provider, or even work toward type 2 diabetes remission where appropriate, then today's lesson is one you cannot afford to ignore. Of course, we shall post this the link of the live session on our group so that we can always go back to it. So carbohydrate intelligence is a game changer. Next Monday, hopefully, we'll continue with the second part of it, portion control. Many of you have asked about, I saw someone talking about the weighing scale. Well, tomorrow we'll show you an illustration of measuring cups and probably even demonstrate how to measure your meal. So this week's challenge is here with us. We are ready for it. Like Dr. Ojwang said, don't be shy sharing your photo, your picture meals with us, because from now on, our nutritionists and doctors will start reviewing them. You might see a tick, you might see an X. Well, we are here to improve, so don't shy off. Of course, I'd like to leave you with this quote from Johann Wolfgang. He says, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. So this week, let's not just know about carbohydrate intelligence, let's practice it. We wish you a healthy, carbohydrate intelligent week ahead. See you next Monday. Goodbye.